Alright guys, so to start off, I'm going to give you guys some context. So I am basically going to be presenting you guys this building that I want to build in Juneau, Alaska. But to do that, I need a permit from the local government agency in Juneau, which is going to be you guys. So I'm going to be talking like you're a government agency, and I'm going to try to persuade you to give me this permit so I can build this cool building in Juneau. Alright, we got that set up. Alright, so get into your character of whatever government person you want to be, and let's start this show. Alright, hello, local government board of Juneau. I am proposing a building plan that integrates vertical gardening or vertical farming with office space. And I'm going to first start off with explaining, well, why do I want to do this in Juneau, Alaska? As you guys, I'm sure know, since you live in Juneau, it is the second largest city in the U.S. with an area of about 2,701.9 square miles. So it has a lot of building potential in terms of where to build. It has a population of 31,275. So there's obviously people here. The average income is quite high compared to the U.S. But why would I want to build a vertical farm in Alaska? Well, that's kind of simple. You can't really grow anything in Alaska to start off with. The winters are long and harsh. Sometimes you don't, get a lot of sunlight for most of the year. The growing season is really short, and all that really grows here is stuff like cherry trees and hardy crops that can actually survive the winters here. So obviously, as we both know, or as we all know, because we're from Juneau, Alaska, groceries here are quite high compared to the rest of the world. The USDA puts out a report every month called the cost of food. So there's two kind of plans they go off of. One is the liberal food plan, which is just kind of buying whatever groceries you want. And for the continental United States, that is about $1,294 for a family of 4 every month. For the thrifty plan, it's about half that much at $651.90 a month for a family of 4, and that's more if you're budget shopping, using coupons, looking for sales, and all that stuff. But the same, thrifty plan for people who live in Alaska is more up there at $772.90 a month for a family of 4, and that is just mainly because it costs a lot to ship here. I'm not even going to talk about Hawaii, because we don't live in Hawaii, but those poor Hawaiians are really, really bumming. But something to solve that is, what if we grew produce in Alaska? Then we wouldn't have to ship or anything. So how would we grow it in a harsh, cold environment? Well, we have vertical gardening. So that's just gardening indoors, kind of like a big, large-scale greenhouse that has multiple floors. And I'll give you some examples of vertical gardens that are already very successful. One would be the Mirai Corp's vertical greenhouses that are in Japan. Their yield per meter is 50 to 100 times that of conventional farming, and they also collect water that they've already used to water the plants, through evaporation and condensation, and they just recycle that through, so no new water actually needs to be wasted through that. And this is kind of important because 70% of global freshwater withdrawals are devoted to irrigation. And another majorly successful vertical garden that I think now is actually the largest operation they have going on is the Sky Greens Vertical Gardens in Singapore. They use only natural light, and they have 9-meter tall rotating troughs that rotate due to water flow, and it only needs about a liter of water to get those circulating, and then they can also recycle that water. And they only use natural light, like I said, so there's it's like completely a glass greenhouse, so there's no need for LED lights or any artificial light that would go towards more consumption of energy. All right, now let's get on to the fun stuff. What does the market look like for vertical farming? So in 2017, it was valued at $1.8 billion, and it is expected to reach $110 billion by 2025. So it has a compound annual growth rate of about 24%. And they have also been found to consume 90% less water and increase yield by 70%. So you're saving money on water and you don't lose as many crops. My building in particular would have to use, at least for some of the year during the winters, low energy LED lights, but that also cuts energy usage by 80% as opposed to if you were to use regular lights that are normally in buildings. And this market is also segmented into 3 groups: components, growth mechanisms, and region. And then the components are then divided again into irrigation component, lighting sensors, climate control, building material, and then the other miscellaneous type things that we won't really get into at this moment. But the building materials possible are glass or plastic. Mine, I'm so far thinking of having it be glass just because it's friendlier to the environment, and as you know, plastic really is not that great. The growth mechanisms, there's 3 different types: hydroponics, aeroponics, and aquaponics. I would be utilizing aquaponics, which just also involves having like a small pond of fish. I was thinking tilapia, and those fish can also fertilize the water, and it also keeps water continuously flowing through this vertical farm, so the plants are constantly getting watered, and that's how they're going to be propagated. And then they're also separated by region, which is just North America, Europe, Asia Pacific, and LAMEA, which just stands for Latin America, Middle East, and Africa. Now, like any other market, there are some restraints to it, such as there's a high requirement for a skilled workforce, and that would, of course, add cost to the cultivation. It also needs a high initial investment, so it needs a lot of money being put into it before it can start putting stuff out, which is kind of to be expected because they are plants and they do need to grow and then produce fruit that then needs to be sold to market. And then the aggregate vertical farming method that is used to deliver fertilizers and pesticides and the like is kind of more costly, and that's kind of the aquaponics side of it, just for motors and pumps. So feel for that restraint. There is some ways to get around that by choosing more cost-effective materials, and we can get more into that during the building process once I get this permit. So that part of it is still to be determined. So we'll see how that goes during the building process, and if we can hopefully find a more cost-effective material. Vertical farms have also been facing some opposition from conventional farmers, just because they don't really fully understand the operational or technological benefits of complete vertical farming, and that's to be expected, especially with family farms that have been on that land for generations, and then someone tells them, oh, it's like better to vertical farm. You're just not gonna leap into that without some more data as to why that would be helpful. But overall, this still looks like a very healthy and growing market, especially since recent data has come out that predicts that by 2050, 70% of the population will live in these urban areas, and there will be less land that is available for farming or that is arable and fertile enough for it. So now let's get into the actual design of this building and how I imagine it'll work out. So I plan to have a 50-foot tall building that's 40 feet thick, I guess you could say, and 50 feet in length. The outside 10 feet will be devoted to that vertical farm space, and so that is going to be owned separately than who owns the office space inside, and that will be separated by floors. So the interior office space will be rented separately, and companies can buy out either one floor or multiple floors. Either way, it's 600 square feet per floor, and I plan to start off with $17 per square foot. That can change based on how much it costs to build this building, and other factors in that, and how wanted the space is. So with that 600 square feet and the 17 per floor or per foot, that calculates out to be about $10,200 per floor per year. However, it's going to have 5 floors, but the first lobby floor cannot be rented out because I do plan to have our aquaponics center located there. So there's going to be, a closed pond on that floor that is used to circulate the water through. So these floors can also rent out the vertical garden area. I think this would be most used by companies that are maybe manufacturing some, GMO plants, or doing independent research of their own, but then that would add quite a lot of square footage. So it goes from 600 square feet to 2,000 because they're getting 10 feet on each side. So then rent would be bumped up to $34,000 a year. But if companies do not take that or include that with their plan, and they don't want that vertical garden area, that is the space that would be rented out to farmers. And since overall it is bigger than the interior office space, about 1,400 square feet, their rent would be $23,800 a year. And the good thing about that is, since it's around the whole building, we can also have the first floor involved in that, so that's 5 floors that could potentially be used by farmers. I also plan to have this building use as much natural light as it can, so that's why, the glass is going to be clear, and I will have, since they're going to be, vertical plants, they will be tilted more towards the window, so the plants are more likely to all get the same amount of light, and they're not being covered up by the plants above them. And also, I want to incorporate compost into that somehow. And so, these plants can be, above the compost, which would then, help heat the greenhouse area. And the whole building in and of itself, if you're surrounded by, compost that's emitting heat all the time, it's eventually gonna help the whole building heat up, which is what you really want in Alaska when it's negative 20 degrees outside. And then we could also incorporate having the water pipes run through the compost, which sounds a bit nasty, but if they're in pipes, the water should not be tainted by any of the chemicals in the compost or stuff like that. And so we would also probably most likely save money on water heating. And then it's a lot about heating the building, but also what about if there is a warm 80-degree day in Juneau, who knows, that can also help with air conditioning, although we'd still have to pay some money for the energy to run the AC. But for some ACs that use cooling through evaporation, we wouldn't really need to worry about evaporation because that would already be happening because of the higher temperature in the water. So we would just need a more simplified system of evaporative cooling. And I was also, thinking that those could be, or the system could be powered by solar panels we could have on the roof. And of course, there's no sunlight for a majority of the day during the winter. And I was hopefully gonna plan on getting in contact with some biofuel companies, such as, companies that produce ethanol through corn, and see, if there's other ways to do that is a more eco-friendly way to fuel this building. So overall, to build it, it will be $64,575 to $86,100 per floor. I would expect that to be more on the $86,000 side, because it is kind of a newer technology building. So I'm not asking that from you guys. If you want to chip in, that'd be great, but I will have shareholders in this company, hopefully. I'm not sure how shares work, because I'm 18 and I'm dumb. But yeah, there we go. We'll get the money somehow. But I'm asking a permit from you guys, so don't worry about it. So sit on that, and that is my building. I love you. Thank you.